is origins and like source, right? The root of something. So it's, if you think about a designer bag, it's like on the external, it looks like a Louis Vuitton bag, right? But it would take you to deeply investigate it on the inside and to see the quality of the materials or the inconsistencies from an authentic bag to be able to notice the difference, right? So what's projected out, if we say how I, like, wanting someone to love me the way that I love them. So we have to think about the source of that. It's like, is it an authentic Louis or is it a knockoff Louis, right? Are the materials that make up what seems to be from the outside looking in to be love, right? Is it made of the authentic materials? So that means if I'm emotionally cut off from myself, I can't give something that I don't have. If you need $100 and all I have is $5 in my bank account, I can give you $5, but I can't give you $100 because I don't have it to give, right? So when we say, I want someone to love me the way that I love them, you got what you wanted. They loved you exactly how it is that you love them, because the way that you love them is exactly how you love yourself. And I mean that not just, poking you out, Nicole, but I'm saying that like big picture, like this is a revelation for all of us. It's like every single one of us got what we wanted. We all got what we prayed for. You know what I mean? But we got it at the level in which we were able to give. And this is where parenting becomes so important. Like, we end up dating our parents, right? So the way that our parents interacted with each other or treated us, we get a partner that treats us like that. If we're attracting what we are, then we are no different than our parents are, in so many words, meaning how my inner self treats me. So when it comes to healing childhood wounds, because we can't change the parents, I have to teach clients how to parent themselves. So if you think about, if we cut ourselves off from our emotions, that's the equivalent of a parent who is emotionally unavailable and cut their emotions off from us. So we are now internalizing them and perpetuating that same pain within the self. And we get into a relationship with the same because we are the same. That's the revelation. It's the fact that my parents cut off their emotions for me. So it taught me that being vulnerable and opening up isn't good. So I, in turn, close off my emotions to myself. So now with that being my frequency, that's what I'm sending out into the world. So I can only draw in someone else who also has a similar background, is also cut off from their emotions. So they can't be vulnerable with themselves. I can't be vulnerable with myself. But I'm asking for a person who's willing to do something for me that I'm not even willing to do for myself. And that's the reality that continues to be replicated. That's where, when we have all of these sad feelings come up, it's not taking ownership of them, of saying I'm sad or I'm depressed. It's digging deep and getting to the root of, why is it that I'm feeling this way? How often have I felt this? What's the root of this? What's the source? How often do I feel this? What are the things that are triggering it? Because that's going to get you to the core belief that's sponsoring the emotions. And that's what is meant by this whole thing being an illusion. Because it's the fact that the thing that we are actually trying to outrun, the person we are trying to outrun, is ourselves. That's really what's at the root of all of this. The reason why the twin flame union is so groundbreaking is because you're meeting the ugly that you're running away from, like live, real, and in person. This is every degrading thing, what your soul has been crying out for. So if you make a list of every single thing that you feel was lacking in your twin relationship, that's a prescription of everything that needs to be healed within the self. Everything you yearned for that other person to do is what your heart is crying out for. But the thing that I always tiptoe around is, all of this is a journey back to the self. It's like, if you would want to look at it in the sense of separating yourself from God, right? like believing that God is this entity in the sky and we're somehow something different than that. This would be God's way of wooing you back home, of getting you to realize that the true thing that you've really been looking for is the same thing that Adam and Eve lost in the garden, and that was disconnection with the divine. It's the attempt to try to fill this void in your soul with a person, with stuff, with things. But for most people, it's a romantic relationship. The key is that, like with the earth sign reading, what I meant by putting whipped cream on shit, that's what we do. Because the thing is that even with how we interact with our kids, we could try to be conscientious by what it is that we do with our children, by doing external actions. But the whole thing is that we keep forgetting that this is not a behavior matter. It's not a cognition matter. This is a soul matter. It's the fact that whatever frequency you're on is what you are. Every single one of us. So if you think about it like a radio station, if I'm listening to 93.3, I'm listening to 93.3. And I can't be upset that I'm not getting 107.9 because I'm on 93.3. So I can sing a song over the song that's playing. I could sit here and I could complain about the fact that I don't like this genre of music. I could say that there's too many commercials. I could say a myriad of different things, but the fact of the matter is that until I change to the frequency that I want to be at, all I'm going to hear is whatever this station is broadcasting, right? And it's seeing how simple life is, and yet we often make it a lot more complex in the simple fact that just like our parents are who they are who they are, and they infected us to make us who we are. And then we perpetuate that same experience in our daily life. We end up like, if we think about it like mom is this person because mom was that person she drew in dad. Dad was a person just like mom. Mom and dad have me. So now I'm a byproduct of mom and dad. So I'm going to draw in someone else who's just like me, which is a byproduct of mom and dad. This person being a byproduct of theirs. And this is the experience I keep perpetuating. So even with my own child, my child can't be anything but their parents, and their grandparents, and their great-grandparents. This isn't really so much in the sense of looking at it as generational curses, but it's looking at it as a human condition. This is something that all of humanity is suffering with. So if we trace the origins back, we could blame our parents, we can blame our grandparents, great-grandparents, their parents, their parents, their parents. Now, looking at it metaphorically, if you look at the two beings that the Bible uses as a story of where all of humanity descends from, it would be Adam and Eve. They would be the parents of all. And if you look at where it is that they effed up, that's exactly the same quote unquote generational curse that's been perpetuated. And that's disconnection with the divine. So moreover, if you look at the fact of the tree that was eaten from, right? They ate from the knowledge of good and evil, which is what created this realm and all this other kind of good stuff. Whatever it is, like whatever fruit you're eating of, like every tree reproduces after its own kind. So we're helpless to not, perpetuate the same ills that our parents have done to us, because the issue is the root. You can prune the tree. I can cut the apples off of the tree. I can rip off the leaves, but it's the fact that it's an apple tree and it's going to continue to produce apples because that's what it is, right? So it means needing to disconnect from that tree and reconnecting into the other tree. It's a new identity. And it's like, that's the whole purpose of this whole process, is ascending to another consciousness. It's no longer identifying with the fallacies of the human condition because we're all broken. It's inescapable, But see, the thing is here, don't put too much pressure on yourself, because the thing you have to understand is that this is all within the will. It's a part of the bigger will. And in the bigger sense, the beautiful thing about it is we can only do our best to unfold our own journeys and trust the bigger process, like in all of this, right? So you don't want to put pressure on yourself, because that's going to create resistance to change your issues, right? Because all of this is in order. You are exactly where it is that you need to be, each and every one of us. There is no rush. Everything is unfolding right on time, like clockwork. Every single awakening that you get is right on time. There's no need to rush to be anything else, because that kind of reminds me of like the story of Oedipus Rex. When we try to sidestep what is right now, like fate, like what's currently unfolding and happening, because we're trying to prevent something from happening, we inadvertently create it, you know?